My computer sounds like it's going to explode. Anyways, if you're new here, hi, my name is Maddie, and today I'm going to be going through all of the books that I read in October. I'm going to switch things up just a tiny bit this month. I want to go through all the books that I had on my TBR, talk about whether I read them or not, and then go into whatever books are left that I read. I think this is going to be fun to start doing this, to see what I thought I was going to read and then what I actually ended up reading. As a side note, I know I look like just a big pink blob. And that's because it's gotten cold in Texas, okay? And it's cold in my apartment, and I love this like big comfy hoodie thing that my mom got me for my birthday, and I can finally wear it. So I am gonna be wearing it a lot. Just wanted to point out that I'm aware that I look like this and chose to come on camera like this. I'm usually wearing a hoodie anyway, so is it that much different? No. So to start, here are the 5 books that I had on my TBR. If you didn't watch my TBR video, you should, because my roommate Kat picked out all of these books for me, and it was so funny. She only picked out 5, which is less than I normally do. So let's see how many of these I actually read. Starting off with the most important, which is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. If you watched the TBR video with Kat, then you would know Kat has been dying for me to read this ever since she found out that it existed and that I owned it. This is part of Emily McIntyre's Never After series, where she does kind of like retellings, but she says they're not retellings, of Disney movies, I think, and she turns them into dark romances. So this one is between Captain Hook and Wendy from Peter Pan. Kat thought that it was the strangest thing ever, and she has been dying for me to read it, so she was very excited when she got to put this on my TBR, and I'm happy to say that I read this. It was the first book that I read for the month. I wanted to make sure that I got it out of the way. Well, okay, that sounds bad. I wanted to make sure that I actually read it because Kat was so excited for it. So she was a priority. I actually did my first ever 24-hour readathon, which I am still editing. I am very behind on editing that, but I'm gonna work on that as soon as this video is up. So hopefully it's up somewhat soon. And this is the first book that I read for that video. I think I read it within one sitting. Like, I don't know if I got up once. This was so entertaining. I was never bored. The idea of Captain Hook and Wendy, so strange. But they're not really like in Neverland. It's not like they're the actual characters. Hook doesn't have a hook for a hand. She's not like a fairy or whatever Tinkerbell is. He's more of like a drug lord who owns like this whole city, and and her dad is Peter, who is this like really rich mogul who owns a airline company that's called Nev Airland. So it's kind of goofy. It's also, like I said, a dark romance. I think this is a pretty tame dark romance compared to what's out there, but it was my first one and it was interesting. It was weird. There were some parts where I was like, why is all this happening? But it was also fun. Like, it was the dark romance aspect and the fact that he's like this drug lord and there's all this stuff going on that made it an entertaining book that I just didn't want to put down. I gave it a 3.5 stars, and I do think I will pick up the next book in the series. I don't know which one it is. They don't go in order or anything, but I do want to read more of her books. It was just a fun, like, easy no-brainer, and it was fun to just try something different, dip my toes into the dark romance genre. And you know, I'm not sure that I'm gonna go out and get another dark romance right away, but it was fun. I did not dislike it. Next up on the TBR is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I don't remember why Kat picked this one out, but she did. This is a super popular young adult mystery thriller, like dark academia series, and I'd heard about it for a really long time. I bought it recently, and so I was really excited that she put it on my TBR. I also read this one. I don't think it was in the 24-hour readathon. I think it was after. And this was strange. Like I said, this is super popular, and I have seen it in so many recommendation videos, like especially fall book recs, and I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but I didn't like the end. Let me back up. This is about Ellingham Academy. So-and-so Ellingham is this like really rich man who started this academy for gifted students, and it's like on the hill of a mountain or something. It's very remote. He started it, I think, 10 or 20 years ago. And I think the year that he started it, one of the students was murdered and his wife and daughter were kidnapped. Before the kidnapping, he received a letter in the mail that was like very ominous, talking about killing people, and it was signed Truly Devious. Everyone assumes that that was the kidnapper slash murderer, and they name him the Truly Devious murderer, or they just name him Truly Devious, I don't know. So 10 or 20 years later, Stevie, who is our main character, is going to the school, and she's really into true crime. And she goes to the school hoping to solve the case of what happened because Truly Devious was never caught. And it was just weird to me. The whole book, there's all this drama and stuff happening with the students that are there. They're doing these projects, and she's investigating something that happens to like the group of students while she's there. And the whole Truly Devious case is like in the background, but like you're not really learning anything. And then it ends with what I assume is supposed to be this big plot twist, but it meant nothing to me. Like I did not care whatsoever about the plot twist, and I was like, what does this have to do with anything? I felt bamboozled. Looking back, I ended up giving it a 3 stars, so like just an average book. So I didn't hate it. It's not like I didn't enjoy reading it. I just was like, what was that? Why did I read that? Like, what was the point? So I don't know if I'll ever continue the series. Definitely not anytime soon. And I'm glad that I didn't buy the 2nd and 3rd book. So that was a bit of a disappointment. But at least I read a book off my TBR. Next is Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter, and this is a cool concept. I also had bought this right before Kat made the TBR, so I was super excited for this one. I had seen this on TikTok a lot. People were saying it's a murder mystery where it's all in mixed media and you should be trying to solve the case for the detectives or whoever's in the book does. Which, I mean, I guess that's kind of how every murder mystery is. You're always trying to solve it before they tell you at the end. So the only different cool part is that it's mixed media. It follows the case of one man who was killed, and it follows the case 20 years later. It's actually in a docuseries, so that's how the book is written. It's written in episodes from the documentary series. Before each episode, you get a newspaper clipping. There's 5 or 6 people involved in the show, and you get like a little resume on each of them at the beginning, emails and texts between people, and then most of the book is written in transcript style like this. So it's like you're just reading what happens in the episode. This is our 3rd in a row. I did read this one, and I have kind of mixed thoughts on it. Like I said, I was really excited for it, and I actually wanted this to be the first book that I tried annotating because I thought it would be fun to annotate each piece of evidence that you get. And if you can see, I tabbed like 3 or 4 times at the very beginning of the book and never again. I did make myself a cheat sheet of who all the characters were because I could not keep them straight. But we only really got solid pieces of evidence like timelines or family trees. I think there was one thing about the autopsy. You really only get a few of those, and it's at the very beginning of the book. So I didn't really have anything else to annotate once it got further along. I didn't feel like annotating every little thing. I just wanted, like, if we had concrete pieces of evidence to annotate it so I could like flip back and try and solve it. But all that just happened at the beginning. Because it's all written in transcript style, the writing is a little bit different. It's obviously limited, and I think that she did a good job with it, but it's not my favorite format to read in. The case itself was fun to solve, and I had like so many people in mind as I was reading of who I thought did it, and like it was always changing. So it was an engaging read, but it just didn't feel like anything special. I feel like I was very excited because I thought there were going to be tons of mixed media elements, but really all you get are, like I said, at the beginning of each episode, you get like 3 pages of mixed media elements, and then the rest is all interview transcript. So I kind of thought there were going to be more like pictures, newspaper clippings, and things thrown in throughout each of the chapters, but there really wasn't a whole lot. And that was kind of just managing my expectation versus what the book actually was. But overall, I thought it was just a pretty solid murder mystery, and I gave it 3 stars. The 4th book on my TBR was The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix. And my roommate Kat actually bought this for me for Christmas, and I hadn't read it yet, so she put it on my TBR. And I picked it up, but I only got 16 pages in. I just wasn't really feeling it at that time. I've tried picking this book up a couple of times since she got it for me, but I always seem to pick it up really late at night and I get like 10 pages in and then I fall asleep, and then in the morning I'm just not really interested anymore. I did actually put this on my November TBR though, so hopefully I will be getting to it this month. I'm gonna try and start it like early in the evening and not right before I fall asleep, because I've never felt like I wanted to DNF it. I just haven't gotten into it yet, so I hope that that happens this month. Last book that Kat put on my TBR is If We Were Villains by ML Rio, and this one I'm currently reading. I started it I think a couple weeks ago, so this one has taken me a bit of time, and I've like picked up other books in between it, and I think I'm about 70% through. So I feel like I deserve at least like half a point for this one because I got through most of it in October. Okay, those are all the books that Kat put on my October TBR, and we're gonna say that I read 3.5 out of the 5. Then there's 3 more books that I read that were not part of my TBR. First was Catching Fire. I read this as part of the 24-hour readathon. I'm currently rereading the Hunger Games trilogy, and then I'm going to read the prequel before the movie for the prequel comes out sometime in the middle of this month. I feel like I don't need to say much about this. Most of you have probably read the Hunger Games. If you haven't, then you should. Even if you're an adult, they are so good. Both of my rereads have been really great so far. I ended up giving this one a 4.5, which I think is what I gave the first one. These are just so fast, so fun. They're on Kindle Unlimited if you don't have the physical copy, and I just highly recommend. If you haven't read these, you need to. Or if you want to do a reread before the movies, you should. If you know me, then you know exactly what I was doing on October 24th. And that was reading A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. By the way, I can never say A Curse for True Love fast without messing it up. For those who don't know, this is the third book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and it feels like literally everyone was just waiting for October 24th for this book to release, including me. I actually went to Barnes & Noble on the 23rd to see if my Barnes just happened to put the book out early, and they didn't. So on the actual release date, I went straight after work to Barnes, picked it up, came home, and did nothing else but read this book. I think I maybe took a break to heat up some chicken nuggets, but all I did was read this book. I really wanted to be able to read this in one sitting, but I got like 90 pages from the end and I fell asleep. Big surprise. Since this was such a highly anticipated release for so many people, there are tons of reviews out there, tons of people talking about this, and the general consensus is that everyone is pretty disappointed, at least with the plot of this book. And while I had a fantastic time reading it, I agree that I am disappointed because I feel like this book had so much potential and there were so many things that just never got answered. So many missed moments for romance and characters that people love that we just didn't get to see. But just as a reading experience, I love this series. Stephanie Garber is one of my favorite authors. I just love the way that she writes. And I had an amazing time while reading this. I was smiling, laughing, talking out loud to myself, giggling, like the whole 9 yards. I was loving it. But if I put my like critical thinking hat on, this definitely was not the best ending for this series, and I think that there could have been so much more done. So if I was being critical, I would probably give it between a 3.5 to a 4 stars, but because I still had a good experience reading it and I just love this series, I did give it a 4.5. To wrap up October, I wanted to read something that felt like it matched the Halloween vibes, like something witchy, spooky, and I think I read the perfect book. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. This was so stinking cute. I thought I knew what this book was about, but I had literally no idea. It's about Mika, who is a witch, and witches do not see each other. Like, they are supposed to stay far away from each other. Bad things can happen if witches are in the same place together, so they're all like scattered around. They don't talk to each other, that kind of thing. She ends up getting roped into going to this house where there are these 3 young witches. They're like 4, 6, and 8. And they are learning how to do magic and how to become witches together, and the family that's taking care of them is like, hey, we need your help. So she goes to the house, helps them learn how to use their magic. There's a romance like subplot that I had no idea about, and it was seriously just so cute. The house has this found family that I really love. It was a really easy read that was just fun and quick. I liked the romance, and it gave me that like little bit of spooky witchiness that I wanted for Halloween. Even though October's over, I highly recommend this. You could totally read this in November. This was so much fun. This is probably my favorite book that I read in the month. I don't think I said I gave this 4 stars, which even though I think 1 or 2 of them was rated higher than this, I still stand by. I think this was my favorite. Okay, that was everything. We're gonna say I read 6.5 books this month. And even though I had some disappointments in here, I think it was still a really good month. I had fun. I'm very excited for November. I have a lot of books that I'm planning to read. We'll see how that goes. That's everything from me as always. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.